and Virginia DMV extends credentials on expiring driver's licenses. Mayor Ramos reports in Washington, D.C. Central Florida pushes for stay-at-home order while universities resume classes online. Claudine Caday in Kissimmee. COVID-19 crisis impacts local and small businesses in LA County. Rod John Mangona in Woodland Hills. Shortage of hospital beds in a Las Vegas hospital. Brian Sonson reports in Las Vegas. In Texas, Denton County residents are asked to stay home to curb the virus spread. Nanita Manawis in Dallas. In Canada, scammers already targeting recipients of the government's COVID-19 aid and a possible credit relief for Canadians. Thomas Likeness in Edmonton. Video interviews with Narciso Villanueva in Monroe, Ohio on how to prepare for a marathon. And with Elmarie Gonzalez in South Haven, Mississippi on the joys and challenges of homeschooling your kid. Plus, learn the art of calligraphy using markers with Angela Milano of Toronto, Ontario. And our recipe for the day, stay-at-home mango float. Hello, everyone. You are watching the EBC International Coverage of the Coronavirus COVID-19 Pandemic North America Edition. I'm Eliza Gonzalez, Manglekmot. According to the World Health Organization Situation Report, in the last 24 hours, there is a total of 462,684 confirmed cases of COVID-19 globally, with 20,834 deaths in 199 countries, areas, territories. In the Western Pacific region, there are 97,766 confirmed cases with 3,518 deaths. In the European region, 220,516 confirmed cases with 11,986 deaths. In Southeast Asia region, 2,344 confirmed cases with 72 deaths. In the Eastern Mediterranean region, 29,631 cases with 2,008 deaths. In the region of the Americas, 60,834 cases with 813 deaths. In the African region, 1,664 confirmed cases with 29 deaths. Meanwhile, according to a report by the Center for Disease Control and Protection, or CDC, as of noon today in the United States, there are a total confirmed cases reported at 68,440, with total deaths at 994. According to CDC, the cases of COVID-19 reported in the U.S. by source of exposure as of noon today, travel-related is at 636, close contact at 1,074, under investigation is at 66,730, with a total cases of 68,440. With that, the United States becomes the country with the most reported positive cases of COVID-19 in the world, surpassing China, where the disease was first reported, and Italy, where there was a recent surge not only in cases, but in deaths related to the COVID-19 disease. Now let's check in with our Eagle News correspondents from across the United States and Canada. We have with us our Eagle News correspondent, Mayor Ramos, reporting on how DC condemns federal relief legislation, Maryland extending school closures, and Virginia's DMV extending credentials on expiring driver's licenses. May, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Eliza. Thank you for having me. As the government officials of the DMV region do their best to set up drive-through sites for testing, the number of confirmed cases has reached its all-time high as of Thursday. Officials said it is good that the results are getting clearer. In DMV, particularly the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area, there is a total of 1,307 deaths. That is new positive cases of COVID-19 cases, which particularly in the district, there is additional 36 new cases in a total of 267, including a metro contractor that made the metro close or shut down 2 stations, an inmate in correctional facility, and 3 more firefighters. The district has also recorded 3 deaths. In Maryland, there are additional 157 positive new cases, with a total of 580, which is a very high total in the DMV area. Included are police officers, EMS technician, and fire and rescue personnel are frontliners. Maryland also recorded 4 deaths. In Virginia, there are 69 additional positive cases, with a total of 461 in the area, and unfortunately 15 deaths. They have actually recorded 8 deaths in 24 hours. Now in DC, update for DC, Mayor Bowser condemned the federal relief legislation that reduces the amount the district will receive by more than $700 million because it treats the city as a territory. She said while the 50 states were given at least $1.25 billion each, the district was given much smaller amount of $500 million. She said during a press conference, I quote, "It's wrong, it's outrageous. We're not a territory. We pay more taxes, unlike the territories, than 22 states. We have a larger population than several states, and we are treated as a state by thousands of federal laws and programs," unquote. In Maryland, the order to close schools has been extended until April 24, and Education Department continues to work on plans for distance learning. Some counties are providing free laptops to students so they can access important instructions from their school, like the Talents family. If you can see in the video, the Talents family has actually pulled up to the driveway of the school, and they're the bus drivers actually giving away the laptops with trash bag as their PPE or personal protective equipment. They're the Talents family from Montgomery County. Lastly, in Virginia, if you're worried about your license expiring between now and May 15, don't worry. The Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles has extended your credentials for 60 days. So you can still drive, but safely, and only for essential purposes. In Washington, D.C., May Bondoc Ramos, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, May. With regards to Mayor Bowser condemning the federal relief legislation, well, it seems like she thinks that DC got the shorter end of the stick, and we hope it gets resolved for the benefit of the nation's capital.
Yes, there has been a talk that hopefully when this will go back to the to our congressmen, they will review it, and hopefully that Washington, D.C. will be spared and give them like a lot more than the $500 million.
Yes, and if not, the same as what the other states are getting.
Yes.
And with the Maryland extending the closures of schools, but resuming online classes to, I think, this Monday, giving away free laptops to students without, I think that's a good thing.
Yes, and they actually have free connection by the Comcast. So even the families without internet connection, they can actually access free internet connection. That's amazing.
That's good. There's a lot of leniency given to everyone in this time of crisis. Thank you, May.
Thank you, Eliza.
Central Florida pushes for stay-at-home order while universities resume classes online. Claudine Kadai with more.
Thanks, Eliza. Since the governor of Florida has yet to put a stay-at-home order in place for the entire state, local governments have taken it upon themselves to ensure that community members are safe. So effective 11 p.m. Thursday night, a stay-at-home order has been placed in Central Florida, only allowing essential employees to be out, while individuals are allowed to be out to get groceries, medications, and to go to doctor's appointments. Classes for college students, such as myself, have been moved to online learning, and public schools will start distant learning on Monday. For myself, I'm practicing social distancing by staying indoors and catching up on my old hobbies. In Kissimmee, Florida, Claudine Kudai, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Claudine. Claudine, you mentioned that there is a stay-at-home order for Central Florida, and have non-essential businesses ordered to close too?
Yes, some non-essential businesses have been ordered to close, but it all depends on their management.
Okay. Have you seen long lines in groceries where people only could come in tens? Is that happening there too now?
In my area, since I live on the outskirts of Orlando, there isn't as much congestion in grocery stores.
Okay.
But we're still maintaining that 6 feet distance between each other, and some are still wearing masks, and it's a very contained environment, so it's not as panicked in my area.
Well, that's good to know. Well, Claudine, you're going back to school online. How does it feel?
Oh, I do miss going physically to school, and it's not a new experience being online, but online learning still keeps me up to date with the curriculum that we're learning, even though I'm not physically there to listen to lectures and to do the work in person. It still feels like I'm able to catch up on my learning. It's a good opportunity, at least until the end of the semester. Hopefully things will pick up again in the fall.
Well, it takes a lot of discipline to stick to a schedule at home. Thank you for joining us, Claudine.
Thanks, Eliza.
In Woodland Hills, California, John Rodney Mangona will tell us about how local and small businesses in LA County feel the impact of the COVID-19 crisis. John Rodney?
Thank you, Eliza. Hello and good evening to everyone. Well, as right now, we are coming up on 1 week since Mayor Eric Garcetti instituted the Safe at Home Directive, in which members of the community are being required to stay at home to help slow the spread of the COVID-19. As of 12 p.m. today, though, there have been 421 new confirmed cases in Los Angeles County and 9 new deaths. This brings the total of cases across Los Angeles County to 1,216, with roughly 20% of positive cases being hospitalized. With that said, new health officer orders are being issued requiring those who have tested positive for COVID-19 and those who are told by a clinician that they are presumed to be positive for COVID-19 to self-isolate for 7 days, an additional 3 days of being symptom-free. And anyone who has been in contact with one who has tested or is presumed positive to self-quarantine for 14 days. Well, these are all in line with the guidelines stated by President and other government officials, requiring us to remain quarantined in an effort to slow down the spread of this disease. With all these regulations and mandates to stay indoors, we are seeing a shift in our community's landscape. Streets and highways that are usually filled with commuters are now barren and resemble a ghost town. Businesses and restaurants had fears of their future because they were unable to see the foot traffic they're accustomed to. Busy cities are now seeing a drop in crowds. But that's a good thing because it shows that we as a community, we're looking out for one another and we're trying to do our part to help slow the spread. But because we're at home, we might have a sense or a feeling of cabin fever. We might be a bit restless. And we might want to know what else we can do to further help our community. Well, for one, if we have that feeling of restlessness, we could still go out, we could still enjoy a leisurely walk to get out of the confines of our house, but we still are being recommended to practice social distancing and normal practices of like washing our hands. But what about for our community? What can we do? Well, the small businesses in our community, they need our help now more than ever. A few days ago, there was a trending hashtag on Instagram called the Great American Takeout. This was aimed to help small and local businesses out during this time. Although they may not be able to serve the patrons within their actual storefronts, many are still open for takeout and delivery. By supporting our local businesses, we can help them to stay afloat during these trying times. I had the pleasure of speaking with a fellow foodie yesterday while we were picking up our takeout orders. And we discussed how our local restaurants, the small mom and pop storefronts, they're relying on our continued business. We discussed the different restaurants on our list that we want to help support and to continue to order from. I was also fortunate to speak to the owner of one such restaurant who expressed her worry once the directive was given for no more dine-in. But sure enough, the community rallied behind her, and she stated that she was been taking more phone orders than she's accustomed to. The phone orders were actually going nonstop. In the few moments that we were speaking to each other, she took about 4 to 5 phone orders. Now, we may not be able to go out as much more, but we still do our part to help our local businesses. Take a breather, take a walk, try new food, order some takeout. This way, we could help others who may be struggling in different ways. In Woodland Hills, California, John Rodney Mangona, Eagle Ruse, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, John Rodney. Well, that's nice to know that it's a good problem to have if the phones are ringing off the hook. So that's good that there's a lot of phone-in orders or takeout orders, and the community is coming together, ordering takeout in this time when dining out is out of the question.
Of course, yes.
Well, thank you for joining us, Rodney.
Thank you.
In Las Vegas, Nevada, Brian Sonson reports about a shortage of hospital beds in a Las Vegas hospital. Brian?
Hi, Eliza. As healthcare workers and as a nurse myself, especially for those who are working in hospitals, we are constantly risking the chance of contracting the virus ourselves or transmitting the virus to others because we are severely lacking in 3 main things. The first being the lack of testing. The FDA will allow Nevada to develop their test kits on their own, which allows Nevada to at least start the much needed number of test kits that is necessary to test the amount of patients who may or may not have the virus, especially for those who are in hospitals and the healthcare workers who are involved. There is a disparity and a lack of organization of test kits in Nevada currently and in the nation when compared to other countries. And the second thing that we are lacking in is the lack of PPE or personal protective equipment. That includes face masks, N95 respirators, gowns, face shields, gloves. Companies like and associations that includes the Nevada Chinese Association, who has recently actually donated $50,000 of PPE to UMC, which is a major hospital here in Las Vegas, helps alleviate the pressures of the severe shortages of PPE in hospitals in Nevada. The last thing that we are also lacking in is hospital beds. Nevada is not exempt to the lack of hospital beds and the increasing capacity of beds all over the world because of the coronavirus. Nevada has about 5,500 beds, and it has reached approximately 83% capacity and could reach full capacity sooner rather than later. Hospitals like the HCA company is planning to add 100 ICU beds to help bring more beds over to Nevada. However, we can add as many beds as we can, but we cannot replace a healthcare team, which we are also lacking in. According to the Southern Nevada Health District, there are a total of 420 confirmed cases in Nevada, and 350 are confirmed here in Clark County, including Las Vegas. There are a confirmed number of 10 deaths and currently 74 hospitalized. And one thing that I can also impart is that in order to reduce the capacity of hospitals, the capacity of hospitals, don't go to the ER or emergency room to get tested for coronavirus, especially if you don't have any symptoms. Go to the ER for life-threatening emergencies only. If you have a fever, fatigue, or dry cough, contact your healthcare provider and your physician so that they can conduct an interview and assessment for COVID-19, either by telephone or video conference, which is something that a lot of big companies who have physician offices are currently doing right now. You've heard this before, but please try to stay at home as much as possible. Do not leave your home outside of work and for necessary spending for things like groceries, gas, and other essentials. According to the CDC, if you develop these emergency warning signs for COVID-19, you should get medical attention immediately. These warning signs include trouble breathing, persistent pain or chest pain, confusion, and bluish lips. So those are some of the signs that you should look out for whether or not you need to go to the emergency room. In Las Vegas, Brian Sanson, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, you are a frontliner, considered a frontliner in this crisis. And I would like to ask, with the surge of possible COVID-19 patients there in Nevada, are the healthcare professionals, are they prone to exhaustion? Because if there's a surge of patients, of course, they will have to take double shifts or work extra hours just to make up for the need or to meet the need of this surge. What can you say about that?
Absolutely. There is definitely not only a shortage of things in the hospital, but the people in the hospital as well, and that includes healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, even CNAs, nursing assistants. And like you said, there are many of them who are working double shifts just to make sure that there is enough staffing for the reaching full capacity of all of the hospitals here in the nation. There's also a very high risk of exhaustion, like you said, and a lot of the time, some of these nurses, especially in the heavily infected states in the country, like New York, which currently has the most, some of these nurses and doctors are working every day, like they're not getting any rest at all. And so, exhaustion is definitely one of the things that is currently affecting all healthcare workers.
Yeah, and a good point that you mentioned is it is always good to know first what to do. If, let's say, you suspect that you have symptoms, it's good to know that you don't have to go straight to the ER and panic right away. What you have to do is call first your PCP or your primary care provider, and then take it from there. If they tell you to, go to a testing site or do this, do that, at least you don't add to the influx of patients, especially in the emergency room.
Right, exactly. That is something that everyone should follow.
Well, thank you for joining us, Brian.
Thank you, Eliza.
In Corpus Christi, Texas, Jane Kathleen Gregorio will share with us how Texas residents turn to home vegetable gardens for additional food source. Kathleen?
Thank you, Eliza. Well, the last time you saw me here a couple of days ago, I was sporting a taro ube purple shake.
You were.
Or ice cream shake. So today we're going to take a different approach because we want to also focus on, as well as supporting our local businesses, we also want to let people know there are alternative ways of acquiring food, not just standing in line at the groceries and not just going for takeout all the time. In fact, here in Nueces County, where I am in Texas, we recently received a stay-at-home order, like majority of your previous guests here, because the government or our city and county government, they didn't want to be punitive and they felt that it would be like in the spirit of the shelter in place, they were going with the stay-at-home order for now. And as of right now, even literally while I was speaking, there has been an update. Originally, we had 14 cases here in Oasis County, but now we have recently confirmed, according to the Texas Department of Health, we now have 18 cases here in Oasis County. And so the numbers just keep climbing. And as the city and the city government has instituted these rules for the residents, home gardens are a really great way to accumulate other food sources. And in fact, here in my my house in Corpus Christi, I'm very fortunate to have family members who are very into gardening. Even if I myself was not born with a green thumb, we have friends who were able to help us, help my family learn how to garden. And in fact, one of those friends that I spoke to, he's a landscaper and he's also a gardener. His name is Ruben Rodriguez, and we asked him today some questions about what are the steps of growing a garden for the first time. Like if you're a beginner, like what are some important foods that you can try and like whether they're calorie dense or nutrient dense. He explained a little bit about it, and in fact you can see his interview right here.
One of the first categories is calorie-rich food. He said it's not necessarily high in nutrition, but it's high in calories, and that'll, get you going. Some prime examples are corn, squash, potatoes, and beans. Those will give you a lot of calories, and which can work in your favor if you have a small garden, because in a small garden you have your pole beans, which kind of need a trellis to support the beans. And if you plant corn will actually be your trellis for your beans. And then if you plant squash in the bottom, it kind of acts like a ground cover. So it's like a little trilogy of vegetables that kind of work hand in hand. The squash will keep the moisture in control. Corn and beans don't like to have too much variance in moisture, and the main thing you want to look at is planting things that are going to grow in your climate. So if you're down in the south, you want to get heat-tolerant beans, heat-tolerant squashes. If you're in the up north, you want cold-tolerant. And there's great varieties in squash and beans. Next category would be nutrient-dense foods. You have stuff like kale, which is very good. You got different kinds of kale, especially for different climates. We're in the south, so kale can work good in hot climates and cold climates. Just get the right variety. Cabbage is another easy one, and you want to get a lot of herbs. Herbs will help with the monotony of just eating plain potatoes or anything. You always want herbs, and they provide a lot of nutrients in there. Your popular nutrient-dense foods are herbs, just be like thyme, rosemary, basil. Also, most leafy greens that will grow in your area are very nutrient-dense. You have berries, lots of fruits. Whatever can grow in your area will be real good. Blackberries, grapes. There's also different varieties that can tolerate the heat or the cold, depending on where you live. For the beginner gardener, there's some easy to grow foods. Squash. Most squashes are very easy to grow. The beans. You have carrots and you have radishes. Radishes are really easy to grow. popular ones you should try are cucumber, eggplants, okra, and peppers. There's lots of peppers. Bad looking already. But for last year's crop, they haven't grown into. I mean, they're getting a head start, but we want to show, get you going. Some prime examples are corn, squash, potatoes, and beans. Those will give you a lot of calories, and which can work in your favor if you have a small garden.
So how did you do it? Did you build it? You with like blocks and then like bought soil? How does it go? If you were there when your in-laws built theirs?
Yes, I was watching from the patio, but 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 my husband and his my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, they all have green thumbs. And what they did is we had just a simple backyard, but they actually created. Well, first my husband actually drew out the plan, because he's into technical stuff like that. But he drew out the plan of how which squares or rectangles are going to contain certain vegetables, and like we have a section for kale, for eggplant, for tomatoes, for onions, cucumbers, and just a variety of vegetables. Like Ruben had mentioned, that would be a good beginner plot. And what he did is he actually he created boxes filled with wooden boxes. Filled with soil, and then from there he kind of like created a pathway using sand and like red, I guess red tiles, red brick tiles or red clay tiles, so that way you have a walkway in and out of the garden. And in fact, I bought. Oh, sorry.
Okay, Kat, sorry. This is ideal if you have a big backyard or if you have enough space in your house. What if you want to create some or build something like this, but you have a small space? It's still doable, right?
Yes, absolutely. There are things such as hydroponics where some plants, they'll be able to just, grow in water. You can do that using, instead of throwing away your egg cartons, if you manage to find eggs, since there's a lot of shortages of eggs lately, you have your empty egg carton, fill them with water. And if you have like, the ends of green onions, instead of throwing them away, like, I used to do, you can actually save them and put them in each individual little egg carton container filled with water, and it'll act.
Welcome back. You are watching the EBC International Coverage of the Coronavirus COVID-19 Pandemic North America Edition. Earlier, we were speaking to Jane Kathleen Gregorio, who was sharing with us how Texas residents turned their backyards into home vegetable gardens. Kat, share with us again. You have a vegetable garden in your backyard. Well, your in-laws do. What was your latest harvest? What were you able to take home?
Thank you, Eliza. So when my latest harvest was, I went out to the garden. It was nice because instead of standing in the grocery store line, I was able to just go to my backyard where I'm staying safe at home. And I was able to pick some kale, some bell pepper, green onions, red onions, and also cucumbers and a few other things like tomatoes. And so I was actually inspired by watching your previous episode on Eagle News Live with one of your guests was Jennifer Valerio. She was a health and wellness coach, and she was talking about antioxidant salads. And so I actually felt inspired by the recipes that you were showing, and even like a lot of the other things that the guests from previous shows had shared about, like do it yourself. So I went ahead and did my own salad, similar to what she has, but I did a slight variation. As you can see, my kale, my cucumber, my red onion or purple onion, because she talked a lot about the benefits of purple onion.
I'm
tomato,
officially jealous, Kat.
Cilantro, green onion, and I think there's a bell pepper in there somewhere. And what I did is I followed her advice, and I added, instead of putting, like how we have salad dressing that you buy from the store, all I did is I just used lemon juice and sea salt, and Himalayan salt. And also a little bit of pepper and garlic and avocado oil. I just kind of varied it up a little bit, because even if you don't have the exact ingredients of a certain recipe, you can always substitute with other things. And so, of course, kale is a superfood. So and it has a lot of vitamins, just like our the guest that we interviewed earlier said. But yes, so this is my salad, my creation, and inspired by garden to table, and sprinkled with a little bit of knowledge from your guest from Eagle News Live.
Thank you, Kat. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Share.
Thank you. Reporting from Corpus Christi, Texas, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio. We live in interesting times, and at times, nutritious times. Thank you. Back to you in the studios.
In Dallas, Texas, Denton County residents are asked to stay at home to curb the spread of COVID-19. Nanita Manawis with the report.
As of 11:59 p.m. on March 25th, residents of Denton County are ordered to stay at home, except for essential activities, travel to businesses outside Denton County, provide or perform essential governmental functions, or to operate essential businesses. Denton County is located in the northern part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It is also known as the Horse Country, USA. But this doesn't mean Denton County residents are completely and strictly confined within their places of residence. Outdoor activities such as walking, biking, hiking, or running are still allowed provided the individuals comply with social distancing requirements, except as family units.
In Dallas, Texas, this is Nanita Manawis, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Nanita. Scammers are already targeting recipients of the government's COVID-19 aid, and there is a possible credit relief for Canadians. Thomas Likeness with the details.
Thieves are out already. You recall yesterday I told you the Canadian government promised to give people who lost their income due to the COVID-19 pandemic $2,000 a month for up to 4 months. Well, the government hasn't even written the first check yet, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says there's already a scam.
I'm sorry to say there appears to be a text scam going around on the new emergency response benefit. I want to remind everyone that the government's website is the best place to find reliable information on everything we're doing.
The text reads, "Alert! The Emergency Response Benefit of Canada Relief Fund has sent you a deposit of $1,375.50. All right, then you're asked to click on a link, and this link takes you to a website that asks for some personal information. And, of course, some banking information, because I want to give you your money, you know. Well, if you do that, don't expect any cash to arrive. This is a scam. This is not how this program works. The application portal hasn't even been launched yet. It'll be next week before they can even start taking applications. So if you get one of these texts, best thing to do is delete it. Just get rid of it, forget you even saw it. Trudeau is also concerned about the cost of credit. You know, most Canadians don't have an emergency savings fund to help them through the tough times. As a matter of fact, most people in this country live paycheck to paycheck. They're about $200 away from serious financial problems. They can't even afford car repairs. So many are now relying on credit cards to tide them over until the government money comes in. The problem is, though, the interest rates. They start at about 19% and go up from there. And Trudeau says that is concerning.
I can assure you that the finance minister has had conversations directly with the banks about credit card interest rates. We recognize that they are a significant challenge for many Canadians at this point. That is why we are encouraging them to take action to alleviate the burden for Canadians. At the same time as we are looking on our end at making credit more available and less expensive for Canadians to be able to make it through the next few months.
There's no word on what the government interest rate might be, what shape this credit is going to take, or what the repayment terms may be. We'll find out those details in the coming weeks. We'll switch gears now. Take a quick look at the numbers. Across Canada, more than 3,500 cases of COVID-19 have been reported. There have been 35 deaths attributed to the disease. The big issue now is to stop community spread, and I know I sound like a broken record. You have to be my age to remember what a record is, but we keep repeating that message over and over again. Keep your distance. Avoid going out. As a matter of fact, just stay home if you can. I wish you all good health. Take care of yourselves and others. Stay safe. And stay tuned to Eagle News for balanced and reliable coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Thomas. Stay at home, or if you have to go out, keep your distance. The EBC International Coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic will be right back. Stay with us.
Mga kababayan, naharap na naman po tayo sa mabigat na pagsubok na ito. Ito yung COVID-19.
I hope everyone's okay. I hope everyone's safe.
Nandito po kami para hikayatin pa po kayo na maging matibay.
Mas maging matatag po tayo and just stay positive po sa lahat po ng nangyayari ngayon.
Mga mahal kong kababayan, lampasan po natin, pagtagumpayan po natin ang pagsubok na ito.
Stay strong sa panahon po na to.
Huwag tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa.
At inihikayat din po namin kayo na sana makinig po tayo sa ating gobyerno.
Sumunod muna tayo sa gobyerno dahil yun yung pinakamainam na paraan para hindi na lumagana pa yung virus.
Let's all stay at home.
Spend time with our loved ones.
with our families.
At higit po sa lahat, make sure to pray for everyone, pray for everything that is going on right now, especially our frontliners po who are sacrificing their lives to take care of everything.
Higit sa lahat, patuloy tayong lumapit, magtiwala at manalangin sa ating Panginoong Diyos.
Lagi tayong manalangin dahil yung po ang may pinaka-mainam na solusyon sa lahat po ng mga problema natin.
God bless you and your family. Please stay strong and keep our faith.
Tuloy po ang laban.
Welcome back. You are watching the EBC International Coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Here in EBC, we aim to keep us all connected, even though we need to stay apart physically for the time being. And one way to be connected is to share with each other things that interest us, those that we are passionate about. In this time of having to stay inside our homes, a lot of us start thinking of things we would do outside once the virus crisis is over. This includes maybe hiking, going to the beach, riding a bike, running a marathon. Joining Eagle News tonight is a veteran marathoner, Narciso Villanueva in Monroe, Ohio, who will share with us some tips on how to prepare for your first marathon, or maybe a half marathon, or a 10K, 5K. Thank you for joining us, Narciso.
Hi, Eliza. Thanks for having me.
Before we go to the running tips, Narciso, how is the stay-at-home advisory affecting you right now?
Well, that's a good question because I'm an outdoor person.
You are.
To cope up with the regulations and to help the community as well is to stay home. That's the only way we could do is to do everything indoor for now.
Well, Nars, thank you for cooperating. Now tell us, what got you into running? Share with us the story behind it.
Well, there was some, of course, some church activities, sports activities, and I'm on the running side. Track and field, Olympic back in the 90s. And I thought I want to run, okay, and here and there. And then after all those activities, I feel like more running. And I said, I think I like to run more. So I did it on my own. And then after all those races, I heard some of the participants already ran some marathons. Oh, he's from Long Beach. He ran a marathon. Oh, he's from LA. He ran, So I said, I can do that. So that's what I thought. And then it gets me excited to know about it and to see what I can do to enter in. So early 90s, I started to join and run some small ones, 5Ks, 10Ks, until I get to my first marathon, a full marathon at 26.2 miles, March 1999.
Wow, 1999. Okay, Nars, you told me this before. During 5K runs or 10K runs, they're pretty short. They're okay. And then once you go to maybe a half marathon, it's okay. But once you go for the full marathon, which is 26.2?
Yes, correct.
Okay. You said you see a lot of things going on while you run. Could you share with us some interesting sights or scenes that you see while you run a full marathon?
Of course, preparing for a full marathon is different from 5, 10, or 15K. So I learned that it takes at least, for a beginner to start, to at least 4 to 5 months of running to be ready for that full marathon. So I did that and read a little bit. Back then, we can't Google anything, so we had to read some running tips from the library. And I learned that, of course, little running at a time gets you there. And then until such a time that first months, you will just spend 1 mile a day, 2 miles a day, 3 times a week. Until the second week, the third week, the second month, you will start running 10 miles a week, 15 miles a week. The third or fourth months, you will be running 35 miles a week per week. You can stagger it from 4 to 5 miles a day. Or if you run on a weekend, you want a longer one, 6, 7 miles a day. So that on that the very first week before the day of the marathon, you will run about 18 miles. 18 miles to get ready for that week. But for that week, you don't want to run anymore a long running.
Yeah,
you might want to run
the full
1
26.
mile just to get your body going to prepare for the big event. So that's how I learned it to get to finish it. In you will be in pain, but at least to finish it is different feeling and accomplishment.
Nars, let's share with them. I want to share with you. Nars was actually my running coach when I was preparing for my first half marathon. I don't know if you still remember that, but
Yes,
you were
I
the
do.
one who trained me. And you always told me to make sure that in the morning before I run, I should have a fruit, eat a fruit, and drink a glass of water. And I would do that. And then you always told me about rolling pain. Could you explain to us what that is?
No matter how stretched, how good stretch that you have in a running time, there is this rolling pain that we have in our body, from the left legs to the right legs, to the left hips, to the front, to the back, to the elbow. There's a pain. Rolling pain and it disappear is good. So meaning your body is coping with the movement of constant movement. So that's how the pain is. Even there's some gas in our stomach. You need to get rid of that too. Yes, exactly. Because once you get to that point of 12, 13 miles, you already have your body on a mode of running. That's what it needs. And if you have a really bad pain that won't go away, then you have to stop. You have to let it heal. You don't want to hurt yourself. But rolling pain are normal for a runner. And so it's okay to do that until you hit to the point that it's more, if you hit after 15 miles, it's all mental. It's all your body is just doing it. It's all the mind that works on it, from lower to upper body.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned when I was training for my first 13.1, you said, okay, the day or 2 days before the actual run, you only run 10 miles. And then on the actual run, the last 3 miles would just be adrenaline.
Yes, it is. It is. It's because, well, of course, these are is a slow start. This is a distant running. Half marathon is a long, 13 miles is a long running too. So you need yourself prepare for that endurance. You don't want to get to the point that your mind will say no more, because it will if you're not ready and prepared. So those slow start, good stride, low stride running will help you endure to the tail end of the last 4 or 5 miles of either half marathon or full marathon. And so that's the preparation that you need. Of course, a lot of hydration. You need to drink some Gatorade, electrolytes that you need. Cramps happen too, and you need to cope up with that. A Brazilian friend told me, you got a big cramp on your right leg, hit it, the muscle, so that all those acidic areas in your muscle will splash and keep you going again. So all these things that I learned. There's also it's a very long running. It will take me at least 5 hours to finish a full marathon. You can just recite a poem. You want to sing while you run, or listen. I can listen to the radio for an earphone because it kind of irritate my ear. So I just sing, recite the alphabet backward.
For 5 hours.
Backward, so that your mind will be relaxed. You have to enjoy the view. If you are by the beach, enjoy the ocean. If you are on the river front, enjoy the river. You just put your mind away from the running. Let your body movement go on a constant basis, and you will get it. You will soon hit that red carpet to make sure that you finish the race.
I remember you told me if you feel like giving up, you just look at your feet, and what you do is just put one foot in front of the other. And the next thing you know, you're crossing that line.
You will, the last 10 miles, there is a mile sign. You just go 1 mile at a time. It's to say 18 miles. Or just go 18 and then wait for the 19. Don't think of the rest. 19 is coming. You pass it, then go for the next one. 20 until you hit the hit the finish line.
Okay, before we let you go, Nars, could you show us the medals that you have there? And share with us, how do you feel every time you cross the finish line and then you get a medal at the end of the race?
It's like what our great boxer Muhammad Ali, which didn't make it to finish a marathon or to run one, he really admired our marathonists because he can do it. Because it's not easy.
It's not.
I have at least 10 LA marathon. I had 2 Las Vegas. I had 2 San Diego and 2 Orange County. To get that medal is just a different feeling. My favorite one, aside from the Los Angeles, are the Las Vegas one right there. I got the rock and roll from San Diego.
Yeah.
And I had all my poster in my garage as I showed you the picture. And it is a great feeling, and it's a good accomplishment. Makes your body really goal, or to finish the goal is just a little big accomplishment that be good to be proud of.
Well, thank you for joining us, Nars, and we hope you could join us again next time once we're allowed to go out or we're able to go out freely. Maybe you could join Eagle News again for more marathon tips.
Sure. I'm ready for you. Okay.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Now, would you like to use those color markers laying around the house, but you're not too much into coloring books? Today, one of our friends in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, will show us the basics of calligraphy using color markers. Here's Angela Milano. Take a look.
Hi, this is Angela Milano, an EBC correspondent here in Toronto, Canada, and today I will be showing you basic calligraphy, basic lettering skills using some basic tools that you might already have here at home and something that you can start with today. Okay, let's start. It might be intimidating at first because calligraphy looks really fancy, but you can definitely start practicing brush lettering in the most basic way. So first thing you need to understand about brush lettering to make it easier is that think of it as if you're just drawing letters. It has nothing to do with your handwriting at all. So something to think about. Another important thing is for you to slow down and don't rush anything. It's all about building your muscle memory, and that it doesn't actually need to be super perfect. So it's all about practice and all about patience, which we can all use at this point in time, of course. Okay, so in terms of tools, for this demonstration, you could just use any piece of blank paper. For today, I will be using line paper so that I have some guides. And I will just be using a Crayola marker, and this is the Crayola Super Tips. And it has that triangular tip so that I can play with some of the strokes. And you can also use a small brush pen like this one if you already have it at home. So it's more specialized for brush lettering. Okay. So right now I will be showing you the basics of doing calligraphy. So here are some of the basics. All letters are a combination of two kinds of strokes, the upstroke and the downstroke. So here I will be demonstrating the letter N. So I start with an upstroke and a downstroke, and here's how it looks like. So each letter right here is the upstroke, and it is the thin stroke. And then the next, this heavier stroke is called the downstroke, the thicker one. And it's done by creating this heavy line. Oops, sorry. Okay, so right now, the way I'm holding the pen right here, make sure that you don't do it that way. You do rest the pen on your pointing finger. And I'm going to demonstrate now how to do a upstroke. So just lightly touch the paper and create upward lines. Okay. The next thing I'm gonna do is those are the upstrokes. So the next thing would be the downstroke. So this is when you actually press heavy on the paper, again at an angle. So that's what we call the downstroke. So you just keep doing this. This is how you build muscle memory for your letters. So when you become more comfortable, you can definitely combine. So thin upstroke, down heavy, downstroke, thin up, heavy down, thin up, push down, right? So that's how you combine. So that is the upstroke, and that is the downstroke. So once you get more comfortable, that's when you start combining both strokes. So the key also for brush lettering is lifting your pen. You don't do it all in one stroke. So you do up, lift, down, thick, up, thin, down, thick. So if you do it too fast, then that's when you get those shaky lines. So that is something that you really need to avoid. So these are the places that I lifted my pen. So it is all about practice and building your muscle memory and knowing what kind of strokes constitute a letter. So right now, I will be breaking down all the strokes for the letter N. So I started with a thin upstroke and then a thick downstroke, and then another thin upstroke, and then another thick downstroke, and then it all comes down to the letter N. So thin upstroke, down thick, up thin, lift, down thick, and your exit stroke. So it's basically knowing what strokes and breaking it down for yourself, so that you are not intimidated by each letter. So right here, I'm just demonstrating the letter N with upstrokes and downstrokes. Each letter also has what we call the entry stroke. So the entry stroke is usually an upstroke, and it's thin. And then we have an exit stroke. And again, it's usually another thin upstroke. So entry, thick, thin, down thick, lift, and exit stroke. So again, it's all about practice. And right now, some of us are really privileged that we have the time that we can self-isolate in peace. And let's take advantage of this time to really reflect and not waste it. And be aware of what's happening around us. So this is just, again, the letter N, and it's just more practice. Some of us are really privileged that we have this time to self-isolate in peace, and we have the chance to. Instead of worrying, we can educate ourselves with these new things that we can learn from home. Okay, so that is it. And right now I'm just showing you all the letters of the alphabet. Again, it takes a lot of time to practice and knowing the strokes for each letter. And so I hope that you give yourself enough time to learn it. Thank you so much in Toronto. Angela Milano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Beautiful. Thank you, Angela. The EBC International Coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic will return in a moment. Stay with us.
Ang COVID-19 ay isang nakahahawang sakit na sanhi ng bagong coronavirus na ngayon palang nakita sa mga tao. Ito ay pangunahing naikakalat ng tao sa pamamagitan ng mga droplet mula sa taong may sakit kapag siya ay magsasalita, uubo o babahing. Ang mga droplet na ito ay maaaring pumunta sa mga bibig o ilong ng mga taong malapit sa kanya. Masyadong mabigat ang mga droplet na ito upang maglakbay ng malayo sa hangin. Umaabot ng hanggang 1 metro ang pagtalsik nito at kaagad na mananatili sa ibabaw ng mga bagay. Ito ang dahilan kaya ang pagkahawa ng tao sa tao ay kadalas ay nangyayari sa pagitan ng mga close contact. Hindi pa alam ang eksaktong oras na nabubuhay ang virus sa mga bagay. Kaya mainam na palagi ang linisin ng mga gamit lalo na sa paligid ng taong may COVID-19. Ang mga kamay ay maaaring kontaminado ng virus lalo't marami itong hinahawakang mga bagay. Kaya iwasan ang paghawak ng mata, ilong at bibig dahil maaaring lumipat ang virus sa iyo sa pamamagitan ng kontaminadong kamay. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang bibig at ilong gamit ang looban ng siko o gumamit ng tissue. Pagkatapos gamitin ang tissue, itapon ka agad sa basurahang may takip. Ang madalas na paglilinis ng kamay gamit ang hand sanitizer na may alkohol o sabon at tubig ang pinaka-epektibong paraan upang maiwasan ang bagong coronavirus. Matatagal nito ang virus kung ito'y nasa kamay mo. Manatiling malusog at iwasan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19.
Welcome back. You are watching the EBC International Coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. For our recipe of the day, here's an easy-to-make dessert made from what you might already have sitting in your pantry. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Elmer Gonzalez and welcome to my kitchen. Like many people, if you're stuck at home, perhaps because of the COVID-19 lockdown, wondering what to make with your limited supplies, here's an easy dessert that you can make with a few simple ingredients.
The ingredients you'll be needing are 2 cans of condensed milk, 4 cans of table cream, packs of graham crackers, 4 pieces of ripe mangoes, and optional a teaspoon of cocoa powder. In a pan, combine the condensed milk and table cream in a saucepan. Cook on medium heat and stir frequently until it becomes a thick, dulce de leche texture. Then turn off the heat and let it cool. Next, use a container of your choice. I'm using a rectangular Pyrex bowl. As you can see, we first put down a layer of graham cracker, followed by a layer of cream, then another graham cracker, another cream, and so on. And on the final layer of cream, we added some mangoes floating on top, hence the name Mango Float. Sprinkle cocoa powder on top and cover the dish and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. And there you have it, a tasty, creamy dessert made from the items you may already have in your pantry. Hope you like this Mango Float Stay-at-Home edition. From South Haven, Mississippi, I am Elmarie Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting and sometimes delicious times. Back to you in studios.
These days, cooking for stay-at-home kids is the norm. And as schools are closed down, parents are finding themselves not only cooks, but teachers also. Elmarie Gonzalez just shared with us her recipe for her stay-at-home mango float. And now, let's go to her live and speak with her not only about her recipe, but also about the joys and challenges of homeschooling her kid. Hi, Elmarie. Thank you for joining Eagle News.
Hi, Eliza. Thank you for having me.
That mango float looks delicious.
Thank you so much. It is. Actually, I almost finished everything already.
Aw, for me. Okay, Elmarie, you are now, you work at a restaurant before all the COVID-19 crisis happened. Tell us, how is the business being affected by all this?
Yes, Eliza. I am an assistant manager and a server in a Chinese-Japanese restaurant around here in Olive Branch. They decided to close like just a week ago because of this COVID-19 going on, and they're scared that the business might, well, it is affecting already the business, so they decided to close it. We thought at first that we're going to be able to do to go order and not accept any more dine-in, but the owner itself said that we really need to totally close for the meantime.
Also, there's no takeout or pickup options right now.
No, not anymore. Yes.
Oh, well, that means more time at home for you.
Yes.
And because schools are closed right now, you have to teach your kid at home. How is it being from being a mommy to her, and now you're her teacher? How is it going?
Yes, well, actually, it's kind of exciting and I don't know, tiring at the same time. I'm not really used to it. But what excites me the most is that homeschooling my 6-year-old kid is that we have more time to spend with each other, not only as a mother and a daughter bonding, but I am having more time as well to make sure that she's on track on her lessons, school lessons and activities. Also, we are given a chance to learn more about each other while we're at home.
So how is it done? Does the school send you a curriculum to follow, or is there a teacher helping the mom for the day on what to teach the kid? How does it go?
Yes, her school teacher gave me some pointers what to do, and she also have like a homework that we can either go to the school to pick it up, but for me I just did it online since I have an access online. It's easier that way for me. Yeah, as you can see, we have her computer back there. That's hers and this is mine. So yeah.
Well, that's part of education now, no? They cannot just use books. There always has to be a computer now. Like like we saw earlier in Maryland, for those families without laptops at home, they were provided laptops for the kids, because starting Monday, online classes will resume online for a lot of states. Okay, Elmarie, of course, if you're a teacher, you have to be, I don't want to say strict, but there has to be discipline, just like being a parent. Is there a difference between your relationship as a mom and a daughter versus you as her teacher and her as your student? Where is the line drawn?
Okay, actually, I took general education when I was in college. That was 10 years ago. Yes, but I didn't expect at all that I'm going to be like applying it to my daughter, because
different.
It's really, really hard. I think I'm more strict than being a mom right now. When I'm giving her the worksheets and stuff like that, she would ask me if she's doing the right one, and I'm like, do you do that to your school like you ask your teacher? I don't think you do. So finish your work first and let's just focus on that and don't ask me yet. So I feel bad when I do that, but I mean, I just want to let her learn, you know.
Well, maybe because as parents, our expectations of our kids are higher, or there's a standard that we want them to meet. So if we're the one teaching them, then that's a challenge also.
Yes,
Aside from that, what other challenges do you face as her teacher now?
I think it's one more thing is to focus. You know, it's hard as well because we are used to be like sweet to each other and cuddling a lot when we're at home. So, but whenever she's done with her work, I just hug her and tell her that she did a great job. I'm just thankful that even if she doesn't have school, we still have more time to spend with each other.
Now, let me ask you. So 6 years old, she should be in kindergarten or preschool?
First grade.
Oh, first grade. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So when she used to go to school, when she's, you have time, you have more time to do household chores. How do you balance it now that you have her all day at home? Do you leave her for a little bit and then attend to things at the home, or you finish your session first and then attend to the things at the home? How do you balance your time?
Actually, it's very different because in school we have to get up like around 7:30 because her school is like a block away only from our house right now. But right now, we usually get up like around 9-10 in the morning.
So later.
Yes, it's very late. But then, of course, as soon as she wakes up, I prepare breakfast or brunch since my husband also works at home right now. So I think after lunch, we start doing homeschool. And then we spend like around an hour or two with the worksheets that he has. So, and then we go back to normal routine, snacks, eating, like
Playtime.
playing on, more on playtime. And I think more on her iPad and iPhone. So, kids nowadays,
Well, thank you for joining us, Elmarie, and for sharing with us your recipe and your techniques of being a mommy/teacher.
Thank you, Liza. In South Haven, Mississippi, I'm Elmarie Gonzalez. Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Elmarie. A few reminders before we go. Wash your hands often with soap and water. Cover your mouth and nose while sneezing or coughing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Avoid contact with sick people. If you are sick, stay home and call your healthcare provider. Practice social distancing. Keep distance between yourself and others, and avoid crowds. That is today's EBC International Coverage of the Coronavirus Pandemic North America edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Eliza Gonzalez, Manglik Mod. We live in interesting times.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversation.